there's something that Wobble said in this part 2 that you're about to watch, where he said when he first got a bass, he didn't have an amp because he sold it for drugs or booze. And so he said he put his bass on the headrest of his bed, like in bed, he'd be going like that. And it gave it a good sound, good enough sound to practice with. So I'm going to test that theory. I know it's true already, but first of all, we'll try it. Okay, with table amp. I think I can see why that wasn't such a bad option, the bed amp. Anyway, enjoy part 2.
I said stuff to you I wouldn't say because you're a contemporary, right? So you were there, you saw that stuff. You're not coming at it with a weird angle or something. To go back to just before I met you for the first time, that night where we sprayed urine about, and threw an anvil on the bed and all that. So I went to Kingsway College 74. It would have been, I think, in the September of that year for the first time. Starting to get at that age when you can get, is it 75? I think it was 74. Meet John. Sid isn't there.
What college was that?
Kingsway College is like a sixth form college, I suppose. Now, Kingsway.
Did you go to Hackney College with them?
No, that was John went there, and
Sid went there.
Sid went there.
I went to Hackney College years later, and I sat at a fucking desk that had John Beverley and the date scratched in there.
There you go. Yeah, and I had mates who went to Hackney. Kingsway was the place that if you'd had been troubled as a kid, blown it with school, blah 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 blah, that kind of thing. Kingsway was sort of recommended somehow. I'll go to Kingsway, you'll love it there, because I think they're a bit of a hippie ethos, and you'll like it. And it was nice actually. I didn't take advantage of it in the way that I should have done. It had a nice vibe to it. But anyway, I meet John. In 75, Sid comes, but John's fucked off because he's now in the Pistols. Poor old Sid's been elbowed because Sid fancied the job as the singer, didn't he, in the Pistols? And I think they fancied him as the singer. I might have all this wrong, but I think I'm not a million miles away from the truth. Mm-hmm. But Vivian Westwood, like Johnny Lydon, wanted him, not John Beverley. So they went with him. He's left with me at Kingsway. I've got a girlfriend. So he's playing gooseberry there a bit, and he's hanging about with me, and it's not really a good fit because I know, he's quite girly, Sid, and likes his fashion, and he wants to be in with people. And of course, I'm a Tottenham fan, so I go to see Tottenham play, got a girlfriend, love soul music and all that. I was younger than him, a year younger than him, a couple of years, 3 years younger than Lydon. He'd had meningitis, which is how he ended up at Kingsway. Anyway, Sid is a troubled guy. His mum's out. She had that East Midlands accent. They'd moved to Queensbridge Road, Hackney. So my mates, that people I got to know, knew him and looked after him. He had a Bristolian accent at that time, Sid. So he spoke a bit like that, He'd come out of Bristol, they'd been in Ibiza and Tunbridge Wells and this, that and the other. And so I'm 16 years of age roughly when I see Sid banging up and his mum banging up. Can you imagine? Like, fucking hell, that was like, this is terrible, And anyway,
what did you think? What did you say?
Oh, I mean, for me, I've been an altar boy anyway. This is outside. This is drugs. This is. I was sort of. I looked down my nose at it. I always did. Like when Ronnie got into. I looked down my nose at it. Me and Ronnie worked for the Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreak. I always looked down my nose at junkies. It's terrible. You still got that weird thing. They're like junkies, are different to elkies. And the junkies call us the bedwetters. And the bedwetters call, I can't remember what we did, just fucking junkies. I can't remember the fucking.
Did you never ever take smack then?
Well, I took it once. Upstairs at Ronnie's, there's a geezer, a notorious fucking criminal who knew us all, giving us a bit for free, as you do, didn't you? With the first one.
Yeah.
This is post Shah of Iran. It's been deposed,
Right.
so loads of heroin could come out of Iran.
Nice heroin.
That's how people, powerful heroin. People getting their money out using, with drugs. And at that point, you probably only had 1,200 registered heroin addicts in all of Britain.
Yeah.
And they used to go for their scripts to private doctors and this, that, and the other. Suddenly, it all plummeted. So we all started seeing. My first girlfriend I ever had, she ended up. I was doing a bit of minicab in the 80s and was warned by the Maltese, be careful, because it was unusual to go from Stepney to Poplar to make a pickup unless it was a local person going back from a pub. If you went to an address there, that's a bit weird, because in those days, minicabs worked their own little manner, generally, apart from the bigger ones like Express or Addison Lee. Be careful with this Johnny the Junkie. So it was some sort of squat up in the fucking flats there, and this girl come out, sat about doing that thing with that thing they do with her nose. Yeah. And it was, I couldn't believe it. She's like a convent school girl, And so loads of people, and Ronnie got into smack.
How are you doing it? Just hitting it up or snorting it, or
needles. They're all on. They all start chasing a dragon, snorting. Then they all go on. They will never go on the needle. So anyway, upstairs at Ronnie's that night, he gives it all. There's all my little Cirque War mates. They all get sick. They go off to the toilet to be sick, as you do. I'm just sitting there and thinking, like, shut up, like I feel very self-contained. And he said to me, it was that famous, I've had this said to me, you said it's your first time, you've done this before. And I'm like, no, I haven't. But I'm thinking, shut up, because I just want to sit here. Now, as you can tell, I'm very chatty. And I'm still I was chatty then, I'm chatty now, I'm edgy, chatty kind of guy. But I'm wrapped in cotton wool. And I suddenly thought, this is the cotton wool they talk about with smack. I can't do this again. So that was it. I never done it again.
I had the same feeling, but I thought to myself, fucking hell, this is the feeling. Like, I want more of this. It was like, because
I loved it, but some sense that observer witness, like, this is the cotton wool thing. You can't do, and I didn't do it again. I did other drugs, obviously, and drunk a lot and all that. So it's not like, I paid me fucking price, but that's what happened.
It's amazing that you had the sense to.
I just knew. I just took to it. Didn't get sick. I just felt nice and felt very self-contained. Didn't want to talk to anybody. I was really self-contained, and it really told me something. But back to Sid. So Sid's maybe even then might have been using a bit of heroin, because he banged it. I thought it was speed, but maybe not. Who knows? But at Kingsway, he's very troubled. Now, his mum didn't give a fuck, because when I did a documentary on him for the radio, which is a blinding documentary, if I say so myself. Hang about, I'm just going to turn fire on.
Sure. Where do you live?
After time in Chelsea, after time in Cheshire, and I used to call myself a socialist. Fucking hell, how'd you like that? So I'm after time here, after time there. I'm up and down like a fiddler's elbow down at Chelsea, because I run a community thing in South London.
All right.
In Merton, like a music thing. So you're welcome, Andy. It was for old blokes, musicians. Good standard. People would love it, mate. They're fucking. You come down there, you'd be well treated. And there's John Klein does it with me, and Anthony Hopkins. Not the Anthony Hopkins, although I've met him and he's very nice. But I do it with John Klein. But look, we'll get to that. But back to Sid. So I did a documentary on him. She didn't even know he's at Kingsway, because John Savage kindly gave me access to his archives, right? At John Moores University and all that, with a guy, Professor Colin Fallows is a nice fellow, lovely fellow out of Liverpool, Scouser. Anyway, she doesn't even know, because she says if he didn't go to Kingsway, if he got to Kingsway, well, he was. She just didn't know, and she kicked him out. She wasn't, you can just imagine what it was like. But he was seeing a psychiatrist at that time. So social services were well and truly involved with him, believe me, yeah? So he asked me, he says he's psychiatric, because he's already talking about killing himself at that time.
Right.
Yeah? As a bit of fun, so almost. The psychiatrist is getting worried for him, so knows he hangs about with me. I'm at the time his only friend, because that just, you know, where things move so fast at that time. He's not seeing John. John's fucking elbowed him out at that point, because John's, you know, with the pistols, and you know, Sid would probably be competition. I've never heard myself say that before. That's just what comes to mind.
Yeah.
Because he was left to his own devices. So I go and see the psychiatrist. He's not called Sid. I'm not called Jah Wobble at that point. So so I go and see the psychiatrist, and the name of the game is this egghead, not a counsellor, mate, proper psychiatrist, is telling me, probably on the NHS, but private practice, you could see that, somewhere in Hampstead, in part of his house. It was nice, you know, Highgate or something. And he says to me, John, thinking Sid, but he's talking about ending his life, and he doesn't have any reason to live life. I know John tells me, Sid, tells me that you've got a girlfriend, you go to football, you go to movies. And at that point I thought, cunt, because we didn't call it movies. Middle class people called it movies. It was pictures. We called it the pictures. So cunt, straight away, this just an aside. But he wasn't a terrible bloke, and he's just said, can you convince Sid that life's worth living? And I said, I just did that face. I don't know, really. I don't know if he has. Sid's like, see? He's saying to the geezer, see? Even my mates. You know? And I said something along the lines of, well, Topman himself might be for the best. Who's to know? The geezer was so upset. Now, the funny side, it's all a bit of a laugh. We leave there, straight face, get up the road, because we've fucking really had a little game. But many a true word said in jest. When you think about it, Andy, he has killed himself 2 years later, mate.
Well, yeah.
That's how quick it all moved. So many a true word said in fucking jest. You know, he meant it. Do
you think that OD, that final OD, was purpose then? On purpose?
Who knows? Was it administered? You know, who knows how that was? You'd never know. But to me, the intent is there with him to kill himself.
His mum really fucked him up, didn't she? I mean, she's to blame.
Yeah, really. This stuff gets passed on, and it's not. Look, you know, with me, with all this stuff, it's just it all gets passed on. Name of the game with me, with AA and everything, has been it stops with me. No more fucking bollocks. All this stuff with you at 15 in a pissy bed, yeah, shouldn't fucking be there, right? It's bang out of order. I'm 18, a bright young man tearing around London, middle of the fucking night. You know, like as Vince said, we were like a pack of wolves, you know, roaming around London late at night around the East End and that, you know, and then the madness begets madness. So it stops with me. So when I stopped fucking drinking, that was just the beginning. You stop fucking drinking, day at a time, and all this bollocks stops with me. Yeah, all the childishness and all the dysfunction, all the self-centeredness.
Has that got anything to do, do you think, with picking up the bass? And when did you pick up bass? When did you start thinking about that?
I picked up the bass in the squat, the aforementioned squat with Andy English in there, and a couple of little Debbie from the shop was in there for a while. They all got sick of me because I was up all night and leery and setting fire to the furniture to make heat. It was fucking madness. It was like that thing of the Young Ones, you know, where I never really liked that program, but they set fire. Well, that was me because it was a fireplace there.
We thought it was too realistic.
Yeah, fucking freezing, and I you know, set fire to furniture that weren't mine. But anyway, had a bass. Don't think it was nicked. Ronnie.
But it was you who did set fire to our copy of our Eater record.
I honestly got no. Yeah,
I see
I've got no.
Now with the loving
set
fire thing.
I'm not a pyromaniac, but if I did, mate, I'm sorry. If I had to put money on anyone doing that, I would say John Gray, because it'd be a very specific thing he would do if I had to do it on anyone. But anyway, it's So where was I? Talking about? What was I talking about?
So in PIL.
Oh, bass. So we get the bass from up Dalston Lane. Little Music Man copy with a very high action, second hand, obviously, in a second hand shop sort of thing. I don't think it's a music store as such. Maybe it was. I can't remember. Oh, fuck me. It would have been really cheap, like 30 quid or something, 20 quid or something like that. It was a whole deal for the amp, the lead, and the bass. Now, got it back over there, sold the amp and the lead to buy cider and Valium. Been doing speed, coming down, yeah. Sell the fucking thing, and it's a mad, isn't it? You fucking yourself. You just bought an amp and a guitar and a bass, and you're selling the amp. Well, the thing was, it made me play leaning the bass on the headboard of the bed. There wasn't even a bed. The only bit of wood left in that fucking flat was the headboard. There wasn't a table or nothing. All gone. So I was leaning against the headboard. I'm the only one in there. Mansipple Street it was, the flats, the council flats, like 1930s tenements. So I'm leaning it on there, and I'm getting a sound with a very awkward high action. So when I went on and I knew what I wanted to do. You put that, but I knew what to do with it. You know.
Right. Could you put the light on by any chance?
Oh yeah. Hang about. Alexa, dining room light on.
Okay.
There you go. Back in. Right. How'd you like that? Yeah.
Like magic.
There you go. But yeah, my missus done it also. Alexa, kettle on.
Okay.
Thank you, man.
Are you married to Alexa?
Oh, she's oh no, Alexa's the other woman. No, my missus is really high tech, so I wouldn't bother doing it, but my missus has got it all set up, so you know.
You're not supposed to trust Alexa. She records everything, and
that's right. Well, I did, but when you ask, or Siri, I'm going to ask you something. Do you record everything? I'm not programmed to record. You think, yeah, I fucking bet, you know. But yeah, I'm not saying anything fucking terrible or incriminating. So it's nice being able to put the kettle on from the living room.
That's quite a cool trick, actually.
But what you need is someone to come and fucking, you know, a robot to pour the fucking tea. You know, oh, my wife. No, she'd kill me if she was there. But so anyway, so with a bass, I just fancied the job. And I knew that you make you make patterns, so that's what it come down to. And I just fancied the job with it. You know, I still feel it. It still feels really right. You know, it feels really right. I think it's just like some footballers when they get the boots and the shin pads on. It just feels like a second skin, second nature. It becomes an extension of your consciousness.
Right. Did you find it quite quickly to get into it? You know, did it trouble you?
Immediate. Right. So the only other things similar to that were let me turn this round, then you can maybe see me a bit.
I'm just going to grab some tea.
Yeah. Oh, right. I'll do the same because the kettle's on now. Yeah, see, kettle's boiled now. See.
Yeah, kettle boiled.
But the other thing was clay pigeon shooting in Abermore with the missus, where the geezer said, is it the first time? And I said, yeah, first time I've been clay pigeon shooting. Well, I've got that shotgun. I fucking done every clay pigeon. I even done the clay rabbit. And the geezer thought that he was angry. He was a jock. He said, I thought you said you'd never done it before, so like the heroin, you know. And I said, I haven't. It's the first time I've done clay pigeon. I was just really took to it. You know, the gun. I was with a gun, you know, where you're following you follow the pigeon, get just in front, very smooth, controlled action. Now, it wasn't like that the first time I got behind a car. I was really nervous, you know. Took me three attempts to pass me driving lessons, so I was just very at home with the bass. Very relaxed.
Things that you were very at home with were the bass playing and heroin.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, heroin and clay pigeon shooting, and the other one was golf. Me and the missus, one was in Mauritius, one golf lessons. Went over there. The geezer said, "You're both amazingly good. We're both really good." And I suddenly thought, he looked at me. When he said it, my face dropped because I thought, "Fucking hell!" I've got members of my family, God bless them, who go out to Essex and all that and become golf tossers. Quite big in Manchester, you know, and they're never fucking happy. They always want to go round a bit. I mean, I've gone on to play football golf, and actually, I've got 6 holes in one. I've got the record.
So you never became a proper golf tosser.
Not a proper golf tosser because you're wearing them funny Pringle, them jumpers with the diamond shapes, jodhpurs, whatever they call it, with the shoes tucked in, all that caper.
Well,
and they all they do is go on about fucking golf, you know. And so I just thought I've got enough obsessions.
You said you got into boxing for a while. Is that right?
Now karate,
Martial
arts. My son's a good boxer, and boxing runs in the family. And I sort of understand boxing. I can get my head around boxing, but with the fighting, with kung fu. Do you remember in the 70s? I'm sure you'd be old enough to remember it. Bruce Lee, or you had David Carradine. I'm a David Carradine man.
Right.
You know, yeah. And that's me. And I like all the martial arts. So I did Goju-Ryu, karate. It's a different game now. It was all about striking then, and most street fights have been settled with strikes. You never really used to see people picking each other up and chuck them. Now you see this thing, they grab each other and smash each other down on the pavement with aikido and wrestling and judo sort of stuff. And you never used to get to that because it would be a heavy hitter. You know, you'd slug it, people would slug it out or throw punches. But anyway, I like the karate, and I liked it because it's who's your worst opponent? Yourself, you know.
Right. Yeah, I wonder what David Carradine was like in person, because that character, you love him, you know, because he's wise and he's fair and he's just and everything. I wonder if he was a complete cunt in real life.
I don't know, but my mate John Murphy, he lives over in Dublin. He's kindly, as a gift, he's copied every David Carradine episode on what the fuck was that? Just some weird fucking noise. He's put it onto DVD for me, which is lovely.
Right,
you know, so I'm going to be feasting on them. But I mean, I like Jet Li is a proper, you know, he's a proper kung fu, you know, sort of, you know. So I mean, I like all that stuff. I like the philosophy behind it because it's do no harm. You know, you have that open hand going into the palm, stop the fighting, you know, and you have that element with the open hand. So when you punch somebody, you damage them, knock them out maybe, and then leave them with a big resentment. So they're now going to go out and make even more violence. Whereas if you use the open hand, stop the fighting. That's the idea. Right. Of course, I'm old now, so I couldn't really have a proper row anyway, you know, as such. You wouldn't want to be having an actual fight, you know, with anyone or getting in the dojo backs too, because I herniated the disc in the back last year. So right. It's quite a while to get over that. But anyway, yeah. So
back to the base again. So you found that you could play, and then how did it happen that PIL was formed?
Oh, well, it's funny. There was East End, quite a Jewish area then, you know, where I come from, Stepney, and I've gone up to Whitechapel. Now, there was a little library in the middle of the Jewish estate, and I was always a bit OCD-ish. So whenever I walked past it, I had to go clockwise around it, never, ever, ever anti-clockwise. It's like Mount Kanu in Tibet. The Buddhists go clockwise, the Bon practitioners go anti-clockwise. Bon's like their version of Taoism or whatever, you know. Right. Mount Kailash, and the Hindus go there as well. Anyway, it's just an aside. But I had this thing, I had to go clockwise. I've come back from Whitechapel and a funny force has overtaken me and I've gone anti-clockwise. Got home, the old man's in, he's working as a postman at the time, very bad-tempered, and like John Lydon phones me, and it's after this weird thing of going anti-clockwise around the library, and says to me, "Do you want to be in? I've got a new band. Do you want to be in it?" Of course, I'm like, "Fucking hell, that's some of that," you know. And he said, "Levene's in it." you want to come over? So I would have probably gone straight over, or, you know, maybe had a cup of tea and gone out later that evening, gone over to Gunter Grove to see him. That's maybe the first time I've been over there even, you know.
And he knew that you started playing bass, obviously.
Yeah, he knew a bit that I played. I don't think I think they thought I played a bit and had a bit of an idea with it, so that'll work. I think people must have thought maybe I had some idea of it. I think Levene put a good word in. He'd seen me play. I've gone over. I don't think they realised that just what I was going to bring to the table, because I was really fancied the job. So
Right.
I just stepped forward and had bass lines, and they were great. I was a novice. They could have wanted to change things. He played a psychological game, you know, with me, but they never did. So, you know, all the bass lines I presented, they really liked them and went with them, you know. So, and I couldn't even count 1, 2, 3, 4 to count a bar in. I didn't know how you did that at the time. And Levene just accepted the bass lines, put his guitar over, and it all just worked, you know. So it was very, but I had something. It was just, you know, this wonderful thing when you find the thing that you should be doing in life. And that was, for me, playing bass felt the most comfortable thing. It still feels right when I pick it up, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's weird how that happens.
And it was always a visceral, physical thing with me. It was never really following the root notes of the guitar or thinking. See, it was had a totality to the playing. There's a real, you know, you pluck that string, there's a power there. Do you know what I mean? It's very primal with me, you know.
It comes across as well in how you play.
Yeah.
So at what point did you think, like, this sounds fucking great? This is that we've got something here. That was there a point that did?
I think very early on, just thought, fucking hell, this is good. You know, this is really working. And I can remember stuff like Annalisa. I mean, right from the get-go, the first bass line from the squat was do 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 do, you know. So that was, I had a lot of open strings. I worked it out looking at the bass that I would have open strings and I would have geometrical shapes, you know. So the diagonal, if you hold down the A on the E string and then go 2 frets along 2 strings down to the D string and play the A on the octave.
Right.
There you go. So I used a lot of octaves. You know what, you won't hear that so much in reggae, for instance. You hear the 5th, or you know, of Aston Family and Barrett, the 3rd. You'd hear the major 3rd of the chord. I didn't know any of that then, you know. I would just play the diagonal, and of course you've got this simple. A lot of great art comes from that. A lot of modern art. Someone like Rothko. The intent is everything. That intent to, you know, to put this strong statement, you know. So, and I was lucky enough to be in a situation where, when you think I always say this with Metal Box, I really bitched about the money and the bad business that was done with PIL. And not only me, believe me, you know, but if we'd had a proper manager and proper A&R band and all that involved, you know, we would never have been allowed to get away. Because I know people that I've talked to were at Virgin and said, oh, we hated it. But their view, what they were saying to Richard Branson, you can't have this. They want to put it in a metal box. We're going to lose money on this, number one. And number two, they haven't got any songs. They're shit. It's just a noise. But Branson let it be. He said it was okay, you know.
Well, John was by property then as well, so I guess.
Well, John was famous, but I think looking back, it was my attitude. Well, yeah, he would do. You'd let John get away with murder just because John was John. But I think actually it was a bit more than that. I think he had some sort of instinct to, yeah, we'll just go for this. We'll follow this through. And so we ended up with a really primal record that's become timeless, which is fantastic.
It's
you know,
classic record now. But I've got to ask though, what's the Cowboy song all about? Because I thought when I played Public Image for the first time, I thought, fucking hell, this is great. They couldn't have done it better, you know, coming back from the Pistols with this.
The first thing we did had a semblance of a song. So everyone thought, fucking hell, they're going to be better than the Pistols. This is fantastic. It's really catchy. And I always say we started up there, and it was a gradual descent downwards commercially. You know, for me, it's continued, you know.
But the B-side of Public Image, the Cowboy song, that, can you explain that to me? I can't.
It's funny. I've not even thought of it. I don't know why we called it. There would be a reason. It was supposed to wind the record company up because it was supposed to be a racket. Maybe did we go woo yeehaw? Maybe there's got stuff like that. So that would probably be cool. But it's got a lot of shouting, and it's the first cousin to Fodder Stomp, which was we have to fulfil the contractual obligation with the record company. Only wanted to be loved. So that was just like we've got to give them. Levene wasn't even around, but we owed them one more track. So we done it. But of course, Fodder Stomp's actually a really blinding track. It become a thing in itself.
Didn't you want to put like another good track on the B side? Put two.
I really can't. I think it was very early on. And I guess I think what had happened, probably, we've got all these tracks, but if we put one of them on, we've then got another track for the album, maybe. So we just put some load of nonsense down that we thought was a bit of a laugh, and it's got a lot of shouting on it. And it's very much, we've got to give the record, so we'll put two fingers up to the record company.
Yeah,
you know.
I understand that. What about, did you have a lot of material sort of quickly, or did it take time to?
Yeah, no, it came together pretty quickly. I think the big problem at first was having a drummer, you know, because we felt we had to have a drummer. So that delayed, if anything delayed anything, it was that. It was only when Jim Walker joined, and he was fantastic. He was like really good. But then because of the way the business, and his bass drum, he had that sort of John Bonham. He put like 12, what I now know is like 12 notes in. On the bass drum, and people say me and him weren't mates, but we went on to form Human Condition after. So I was friends with Jim. You know, Jim left because of the bad business. You know, so he left, went and signed the publishing. They were really angry. I didn't know. John never told me. He went to meet Jim with a lawyer, and they wanted him to sign everything back over. He told him to fuck off, is what Jim says. And you know, he was gutted. He never really got over it because it was like, here's the winning lottery for you know, your national lottery ticket. Here's the winning numbers. Let's just tear it in half. Let's just tear it up in front of your eyes. And you know, he's one of these guys, really great drummer. He's come all the way to this country to try and be in a successful band. Gets in a band with the most famous singer. It's really great, and it all fucks up. You know,
bummer that, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it was. But we ended up. I did some drums on Metal Box, so I did careering. Levene did pop tones, and we had 4 or 5 other drummers anyway. So, and that, probably because of that, it varied Metal Box, and so it become a special kind of thing. I fucked off. Waited to go to America and fucked off. So it was a one-off record, that, you know, it was just Lydon's lyrics were more like Samuel Beckett or something. Levene, by the time we got 2/3 of the way through, was so spent, I think, with all the drugs and the addiction, that he never ever really got his mojo back to really invent. Do you know what I mean? You know, he just didn't, you know, and that's why for me he was going off playing Prophet synth, because it was easier just to make a splash with a synth than a guitar and actually work something out, you know. So something like The Suit, he couldn't even work a guitar part out. He just didn't know what to do, you know.
Would you say he was a songwriter?
Levene, no, not. He had it in him to be. I spoke at his funeral. I mean, talking of violence, how I never bopped him right in the fucking jaw, I do not know. It's incredible, actually. But if anything, I talk to Keith, I always feel angry whenever I feel him, because he just wasted situation, wasted talent, you know, just, you know, there was equipment went missing, some load of bass gear bought, and then that disappeared, you know, because of junkie stuff, I think, going on, you know. So whenever I talk of him, I mean, he would come back in my life, and I would hold him at arm's length and then let him back in belatedly, let him back in, and did some stuff with him around about 2011, 2012, did a bit more recording, and it was okay, but he didn't have.
Was he still used?
Well, he told me he wasn't, and I don't think he was. I think the first time I worked with him again, he wasn't, and then my band within a few weeks, like he's on, he's on stuff, but I don't know. It might have been. It might have even been synthetic heroin substitute. I don't know. I didn't see him with needle. I'll tell you one funny thing. We were at a rehearsal place I knew in East London, and the geezer that run it, nice geezer, he taught him, he used to do weightlifting. He had like a weightlifting thing. And I got in, I said, "You're right." And I won't say his name, I got in to have the rehearsal with Levene. It was and I'm really thinking I'm going to really be keeping my eyes on Levene. When he went to the toilet and all that, almost counting it, how long he's been in the car. Do you know what I'm saying? And anyway, this geezer, I get there, the geezer's holding his neck. I said, "You're all right." He said, "Been stung by a wasp." I said, "You've been stung before?" "Yeah, like a lot of weightlift, quite hard voice like that." And I said, "You've been stung?" But he said, "No." I said, "You should be careful." And he went, "What?" Like, quite tough guys. "Why?" Like, well, because you could have epileptic shock or whatever. Okay, we go in and there's a young boy who works there as well. Levene comes, we have the rehearsal, and Levene goes to the Kazi. I'm thinking, how long as he comes back, what's he laid? Doesn't look strung out, he looks all right. I go to the Kazi and I go out. I see the geezer I'm talking about who's had the sting. He's on the deck with two medics working on him, and he's got one of them silver foil blankets. He's gone into anaphylactic shock, just as I said he might do.
Shit.
The young kid who's like, he was a nice kid who worked there 18, 19 years old. He's against the wall just looking at this, completely panicked. So I'm like, fucking hell, I go back in and I'm shaking up. And I go back in the rehearsal, there's Levene and my band at the time. And this would have been 2011, maybe even 2010. It was a while before I took the time to make the decision to do a couple of shows with him. And I said, fucking hell, the geezer, he's in anaphylactic shock. And Keith said, I said, "Keith, didn't you see it?" He went, "Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I saw it." I said to him, "Here." At that point, the ambulance hadn't come. He said, "You're going in anaphylactic shock. You better call an ambulance." And come back in, but not remarked on it. And I thought, fucking hell, he didn't even remark on it. And I thought, I suppose because he would have seen all this shit for years in all the squats and all that, right? He would have seen people going into shock.
Yeah.
Someone
being in the corner.
Yeah, so I'm like, fucking hell, the blokes in the ambulance is in. I told him he was going to flash. Anyway, what's the next number? So we done half a dozen shows. We had a little tryout, and and we done half a dozen shows, and it was enough. Just the way he was still treating people badly. Like I said to the promoters and all that, just book half a dozen shows. We're not going to be doing more than that.
Right.
My drummer, who's the same drummer I got now, he was willing to do more, but I said, no, I'm not. I just can't be with people that are not going to behave well. We're back to talking about, like that night I met you. This, dysfunctional, mad, unpleasant.
But the thing about drugs, especially opiates, if you're trying to work with someone, even people that have got it sort of under control and they're on a script of methadone and they're not doing the actual gear anymore, always the same old problems always recur.
It was the same thing, and at times just really unpleasant. And when we're in Germany, the German promoter comes in. Okay, it's time to go to stage. Levene says, "I need a razor." He decides to have a shave. It's showtime. And I thought, fuck me, I've never known you have any body hair, number one. Number two, I've never known you have any interest in razors to shave with. So, but I stayed cool. So it's all right, you can have a shave. I'll go on with a drummer and a trumpet player and warm them up. Okay, I just rolled with it. And then it was like, no, we're done. We made a record as well at that time, and then that's that. We're sort of we're kind of done with it now. That was it. He died I spoke at his funeral, which was an honour and everything. But as I said there, it's all a bit of a hoot in some respects. In other respects, obviously I still feel an anger when I talk about him, because I just think you really, having a junkie, Lydon wasn't strong enough as a leader to control Levene. He was this guy that's seemingly very strong as a front man and is actually wasn't a good leader of the band.
Right.
You need to be, and I know something about that now because I've been a band leader for years. He just wasn't a strong leader, and Levene should have been confronted. Blah 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 blah. Never, and I don't think he ever was in his life.
I think most junkies are very selfish people.
Oh, they're incredible. Yeah, completely. And where they're a bit different to help is a little bit duplicitous, even when they, because when you think booze isn't illegal, but drugs are illegal. So a lot of the time with people that you're dealing with they've been involved with drug smuggling, couriering. Sometimes they've been inside for, it's a different game. Do you know what I mean? I took drugs, but that's a different kind of level.
It's a whole lifestyle. It's
a real subculture. And with Levene, I never knew him say, "I'm really sorry, I've got to get off this. I'm going to get off it. Just trust me." He never really had enough. Right.
So this has been brilliant chatting to you, by the way. It's
nice. I've enjoyed it, mate. Yeah.
Probably wrap up quite soon, but there's loads of things I didn't ask you yet, so I'll ask you things kind of quickly. But back to John. After you left PIL, how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did you rate PIL after you weren't in the band anymore?
Oh, well, I think they went downhill pretty fast. No, in all honesty, you remember how important he was. Do you remember people couldn't take their eyes off him if he walked in the room, and he always had that. Right from when I first met him, he had a kind of a weird charisma, and so from 75 through to about 81, 82, he really looked the part. He was the part. But after I left, they did Flowers of Romance, which was a good idea. It was a smart thing to do. If you're losing a very heavy bass player, don't try and replace. Whatever you do is not going to be more than a kind of weak substitute. So work without a bassist and just have drums. So it was a good idea, but badly executed, and it showed just the monotonality of his voice. You need, if you're going to do that, you need some kind of melody with the vocal. So I think they kind of blew it there. The last thing I heard him do that held water was for Bill Laswell, who's a mate of mine, producer, in 1986. That Rise album was good, but PIL, for me, PIL isn't PIL without me and Levene. It's just not. That's just not. To me, it isn't PIL. It doesn't matter to me the name. He asked me to rejoin in 2006. Well, I met him again in 2006. And I think he was just checking me out a bit to see if I'd be on side, and then the offer came in a couple of years later, or maybe a bit more, to join PIL, and it was. And people say, "Oh, it's going to be great. You've got to go out and earn some money," but I just thought, nah. The money was pretty shit that he offered, which is incredible. No mention of a slice of the merch or anything, which were a founding member. So it don't really surprise me. And I think the worst thing would have been he would have expected me to play the crap stuff from the late 80s, early 90s. Because John, left to his own devices, for me, he's like a sort of Alice Cooper fan. He's like rock. He's not actually that imaginative and needs good people, really. Strong characters who have got a good aesthetic sense. And
he's not really a natural singer either, is he, John?
No, it's shouty, and you can go down that route of comparing it like Ornette Coleman, and go down that route and play a little intellectual game that it's sort of sophisticated.
Ornette Coleman isn't like eventually annoying. I find it just annoying after a while.
I won't say the roots, but if somebody asked me at that time, a couple of very well respected, what I would do, and I would have had a whole map for him how he could have really improved as a front man, as a singer, But
how do you feel about him now?
Oh, I don't mind. It's all a hoot. It's like when you're telling me about that night. Obviously, part of me's like, oh, actually, joking apart, Andy. Fucking hell, son, what are you doing there? 15 years of age, yeah. On one side, you've got that. On the other side, it's all a bit of a hoot. 'Cause I'm laughing as well. And with John, these weird. I look back, and it's like Withnell and I. Withnell, when the guy goes off and leaves Withnell.
Right.
That Scouse actor goes off and leaves him. He gets a part, and that's John. Is this tragic guy standing by the wolf enclosure at Regent's Park?
He's changed from that guy to how he is now in old
age? I think he was always his interesting character. I think he was always a bit of contrarian, very insecure. Really, I think very insecure person, as we all can be. We can all be insecure given the right conditions, I guess. If you said to me there's a death squad out there and they're being told to do a hit on you sometime in the next 2, I'm insecure, suddenly. So it takes the right conditions, I suppose, But he always had a mean-spirited thing in him, actually. But
I think there is something mean, isn't there?
Yeah, it was a mean-spirited thing in him. Not uncommon in show business. I tell you where you get it: radio personalities, some of those sort of people that you think are really nice because they've got nice, syrupy, smooth voices, and then you meet them and you realise they've really got a side to them. There's something really unpleasant. But the thing that John had, I remember when we ended up in a sort of semi-squat in Edmonton. It was haunted. It was fucking scary, actually. A couple of things that happened there, genuinely.
I'd hear about that.
Yeah. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, it was some spooky. I noticed it early doors there, and I can't. What do? I get first pick of the rooms. I choose the bedroom with no windows. Fucking hell,
What were the scary things? Give us.
I'm sitting there with a girlfriend and some other. I think maybe 1 or 2 other people. I can't remember. There's a frosted door. Front door goes. Black shape goes up the stairs. Starts smashing and banging. I think it's a geezer called Dave Crow that was one of John's mates, and he used to wear a long black coat. So I was convinced it was him, and he's gone up there. And I thought, hang about. I think he might have had a key for a while there, and I thought you might have a key. You got no fucking right to come in. You ain't got a room here. Go upstairs and start smashing and banging about. So I'm not scared. I'm angry. I go run up. Hey, what's your fucking game? I get up there. There's no windows open or anything, and all the drawers are everywhere. Yeah, shuts everywhere. You'd get an icy cold. It just turned. You could see your fucking breath. And you'd get a really terrible smell all at the top of the stairs. And the top of the stairs is where my room was. So there were times I'd be there in the afternoon, sort of winter afternoon, really dull winter afternoons. And you'd feel this freezing cold presence. Something was outside that door. I fucking knew it, And other people saw it and, this, that and the other. And it was seen. We had the old bill round there one night about the noise and this, that and the other. And people saw it go off. There was a load of flour being thrown about in the house and all that, and it was seen outside actually leaving the house. Like even this poltergeist had had enough of us. The first time it made itself, I've come back in the house with John, and I'm hanging my coat up. I'm seeing him going up the stairs, looking back. Out the corner of your eye, and I said, "You want a cup of tea?" His voice comes to me. I'm making it. And I'm like, I just saw you go up the stairs, and he wasn't sensitive. I said, I just fucking saw you go up the stairs. And he's like, what are you talking about? But I'd just seen him go up the stairs. So it was a very strange thing. It was at the corner of your eye. This thing had a long white sort of face. And, now I'm not going to say much more, but I know certain people, I'm not going to say any more than this, have been mucking about with black magic. Yeah.
Right. In that house.
In the house and at cemeteries. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. Right. And I personally link the two. Yeah.
Is it someone that we've been talking about by any chance?
I'm not going to say anything more than that.
Okay.
I think there's, a couple of things. And of course, you can mess with those things and you really, it'd be, and I've known people do that and to your fucking detriment, But the thing was, at the time he's got to make that cup of tea, he was a London Irish kid, Londoner, with 3 brothers, all younger than him. You know, at that time you have to adapt. You can't be a weirdo all the fucking time or whatever, yeah?
Right.
And he was capable of just being a fucking ordinary geezer, yeah? So when we had the first rehearsal, I remember him laughing at me. I remember him saying to me, "You're such a Londoner," because I come in with the cheese sandwich wrapped in cheese-proof paper, reading the paper. I'd always have a London, not standard evening news tucked in my back pocket, you know. I'd have a paper, I'd have the Daily Mirror, have a fag. I was very much, you know, that thing, and to be, he knew, and so he could see that, you know, and he was nice, and he lost that 70. He was already losing it with the Pistols, so that darker thing coming in more and more for me. Right. I've never really said that to anyone in that way, and it's not said with any. Really not said with any fucking, you know, he opened up doors for all of us in a way. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Him and McLaren, you know. Sure. You know, McLaren hung him out to dry, and then he'd done that. I felt he'd done that with me a bit in PIL, where, you know, it's like, no, this is not really right. He carried on McLaren's modus operandi, and of course that was glitter best. And of course we had Public Image Limited, we had to sign our publishing, so, and of course Public Image Limited went bankrupt. Went into receivership in about 1984, you know. So there was certain parallels there with the way Harry did, you know, I felt, that you just think, fucking hell, McLaren's treated you badly. Why would you want to ape? Yeah. You know, what he's done. Why would you want to do that, you know? But he was, so there was, I suppose with all of us, I've got a shadow side. It's selfish, it's insecure, the worst of it came out in addiction. I was a real fucking cunt, prat, you know. Right. And so I guess, are we any different? You know, we've got this shadow side, you've got the other side, and hopefully you diminish, you kind of atrophy it because you don't empower it, you know. Yeah. So I mean, it's not like, you know, he's a, you know, really evil person or something, you know. It's just this thing, and you know, everyone sees I'm sure his brothers now would see him differently to how the world sees him, and right, you know what I mean? Yeah, kind of how it is. But I see him, he's a pro-Trump. Well,
what really put me off him, I've put up with a lot of, you know, the sides of him I haven't liked, but he made some really fucking hateful comments about the situation in Gaza that were just, I thought, fuck that, you know. I can't.
Yes, I mean, this is that whole situation there. Fuck me, it's a nightmare, you know. And I can see from both sides. I mean, I've got into arguments years ago just for sort of criticising, you know, bombs being dropped in Gaza before this phase, going back a few years, and you end up talking to somebody who, you know, you think, oh, what you say, just someone online. It seems a bit weird, and having a very protracted sort of thing where you know, your basic. All your argument is, it's really great if you can't not to drop bombs, you know. Yeah. I know there's two sides to the story. My old man was in what's now called, you know, Palestine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, at the end of the war.
Was he there during the war?
8th Army, so he'd fought El Alamein and all that, and then he was there. I suspect he was more, because remember, there's early Zionists were attacking the British soldiers. A lot of people still don't.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's the irony of it. They started out as the terrorists.
Yeah, Stern Gang and all that.
And now it's flipped over to them being supposedly the good guys, but obviously they're not.
But you know, so it's you know, so that sort of went on, you know. But I can see both sides, you know, and I know that in Israel you've had this big battle, like you've had it between the left and the right. I'm not even sure what's left or right anymore.
Same here.
You know, but I mean, I make a, you know, and I know, you know, on the other side there's a strong sentiment which is we just want to kill the Jews. You know, don't want peace, just kill the Jews. So you would hope, against all hope, as happened with the Troubles, because if you had said to me in the 70s, one day the situation in Northern Ireland would be, I would have said to you, I just don't see it. And I always stay, I'm a Catholic, by the way, you know, strong Catholic. You know, my dad's brother was named after St. was Sweeney, Irish rebel, but I always stayed out of the thing in Northern Ireland. Do you know what I mean?
That's the other irony with John. I mean, I remember hearing him say slightly sympathetic things towards the IRA, and with situation with Gaza. If I was going to ask him if he'd come on, if the situation had been in Northern Ireland that the British were bombing a building that they knew a terrorist was in, but they've killed 300 people in the process of it. It's like I think he would say that's fucking disgusting, but at the moment he seems to be sticking up for the fact that, oh, well, so what if a few fucking babies die because they got the terrorists they wanted? And it's like, I don't even understand why he would.
I haven't seen that. I can tell you this though, and in all that time, I don't ever remember him, and it used to, and I thought favourably of this. He never spoke with the situation in Northern Ireland. He never took an easy route, like to be, I'm Athenian, and he always, I felt, avoided the worst excesses of that, we're putting your foot in a and say, right, I'm supporting this. Do you know what I mean? And they're great, because a mate of mine said to me, well, what would you do with us in the situation? I said, I really don't fucking know. I know that a two-state system was cited years ago, and as I understand it, and I'm loath to even talk about it, from the Gazan side of things, it was turned down, to be fair.
Well, it's more complicated.
I know. I mean, these things always are.
Duplicity is how Israel operates, and you'll find most peace deals were fucked up by Israel, and the recent one being them bombing the peace negotiators as they go to the peace meeting. And so, I mean, I've got a personal sort of thing with this because my dad was Egyptian, and he in the War of Independence he was captured and given a hard time by the Israelis, and so I sort of grew up knowing a bit about this. And then I visited there in 1985, and I got, as a naive tourist, then I got into a lot of trouble just because of my name. My surname is Arabic, and so I know people on the West Bank who are now no longer with us, and it's a long story for me. I know this recent kind of popularization of it because of the fact there's a live genocide taking place is made it murky, because I don't really like sticking up for political things and mouthing off about it. I don't like it when other people do it too much.
Well, I see. One of the reasons I do it, it's not out just to be cowardly. It's unhelpful sometimes. I think when you're a musician, you just want to be there, and you don't want to be. You're there as this vessel of fucking goodness and entertainment, and a good emanation, and you don't want to kind of be putting unnecessary filters over that politically.
That's right.
I mean, I was very angry left-wing guy when I was. I mean, really, right. So I was on picket lines, this, that, and the other. I guess I'm still to the left in regards to economics. I believe in a strong public sector. I believe in nationalised industry and all that stuff. But a lot of the time now with the left thing, it's like it's become a carbon copy of a carbon copy, and the same with the right. I'm not sure they're sufficient terms anymore. They don't, for me, represent what they used to represent. But I just hope that, against all hope, that there's some workable solution.
The only last chance was the two-state solution, and now they've been pretending. The Israelis have been pretending that's on the table for fucking decades, but now they've made it clear there never was an idea for a two-state solution. And what they really want is all of it, basically, and they want the Arabs out, and they don't care if they kill them or they fuck off on their own accord. They just don't want them there. And then they've got designs on a greater Israel. All of this has been said out loud by Israeli ministers and spokespeople over the years, and so far everything they've said up to this point has been achieved. And so I don't believe it's ever going to stop with, even if they agreed this wacky peace plan with Trump. He just wants everyone to stop saying you're committing genocide now with no real reason, and say, look, I'm peaceful, I wanted this, and look what they did, and now we've had to fucking really go full throttle. And that's all.
Well, I hope you know, I remember seeing it with the troubles in Northern Ireland. It was never going to end. And
I agree.
one day, I hope it will. You
I
know.
agree with you. That I've been thinking that myself. You know, no one thought that Sinn Féin would be a political entity, a legal one. But it's different with Israel. It's very different. You know, it's very different in so many different ways. They're too, you know, they're not going to let go of it. They will get what they want, I think, which is going to be, you know, the genocide and ethnic cleansing of as far as they want to go into Syria and Lebanon and wherever else as well. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I hope that doesn't happen. That's it. I mean, as I said, I've really kept it. I made a decision a while ago. I bit a bit with Brexit, and I have bit with this stuff, you know, going back a few years now. But I'm now, you know, I just hope it gets sorted out. And half my philosophy, it's even the green stuff. It's no point me. I can't add to anything or help anything.
Yeah.
The best thing I can do is go through life, play my music. That's and I don't mind this term inclusive. It's like the community thing we do. Every fucker's welcome. Do you know what I mean? So everybody's welcome. I hope it gets sorted. You know. Yeah.
You can only hope. But I think there's an inner battle of humanity that's in a way is just as important as the outer events that are going on. You know.
Yeah.
And even if you're in a terrible situation, you're still experiencing the same.
Well, I wonder if events are going to overtake us all in regard to AI or something, because I just feel, yeah, I just suspect something's going to happen for a while that was going to overtake all of this. You know, I don't know what the fuck that is. Another fucking pandemic or fucking asteroid or something, but probably AI is the asteroid. You know,
I think AI is.
That's something else a come. You know, but back to John. You know, yeah, it's imagine if he hadn't existed. You know, so he was a catalyst for a lot of stuff.
So without doubt, yeah, and it would have been funny if Sid had been the one that joined the Pistols. I don't think it would have panned out the same way that it did with Lydon.
Oh no, it was a, you know, so I don't have any with any of it. Is McLaren the whole thing? It's all a bit of a hoot, you know. Like when you're telling me, I can look at it and say, fucking hell, at that age we shouldn't have been there. And I mean it, you know, it's dysfunctional and it's not good. It's a social services job basically, you know. But at the same time, yeah, it's all a bit of a mad laugh. It's all funny, and you know, and it is what it is. So with John, it doesn't really matter. You know, it doesn't matter. He's gone down a particular sort of path, and you know, that's the path he's down. You know,
you've spoken to him since that time. You nearly
no. It kind of it. You know, I don't feel any bitterness. He was very upset with me because I actually named the sums that were mentioned. Right. You know, which were, you know, when you think you're doing a tour that's grossing like in millions of pounds, you know, you've got you'll be paid £1,000 a week when rehearsing and £1,500 a week when playing shows, and you kind of think, well, that's kind of what I pay my band now on a pro rata sort of basis. Right. But we just played clubs, you know, so it was, but. As I said to the people representing me at that time, look, to be honest, it'd be more of a problem for me if the money was right, because you're just going to have issues with him, you know. And I think it's interesting it's ended up now, hasn't it, with the Pistols, who I know, you know, they're not talking with him, and you know. And
it's quite telling, I think.
Yeah.
What was I going to say about that? He ended up on Judge Judy, you know, that American show where she sorts out problems. And some drummer or somebody was saying that John wasn't paying him, and they had John on saying why he wasn't paying him, and then he was ordered to pay the drummer more. I can't remember the whole.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, you know, it was the money side of it and all that was, you know, when I left PIL, I went back to Guns of Grove, and I knew where the money was. It had been under the bed, and it was in a cubby hole that had been cut out the wall. I went back, I'm having that, and I just took this shoebox full of, like, I think it might have even been £100 denomination notes, certainly 50, which was, you didn't see many of in them days, I tell you. So I had that. I just took that. It took me 16 and a half years to get the money sorted that was supposed to have gone into the company that went into receivership. It had been kept in a non-interest bearing account and got it sorted, so, it eventually things kind of worked with the publishing, but it wasn't business and all that wasn't good at all. It was really, not good,
Sounds like
not the first time that's happened in the music business, but
no.
I got out very young. So at 21, I sussed John out and I sussed the situation out, and that's it, Nice one, mate.
All right, been brilliant talking. Just one last question, bit of a silly question, some might say, but if you could have one of these three superpowers, which one would you have, right? Invisibility, the ability to fly, or the ability to read people's minds?
The ability to fly all day long.
Yeah, just like up in the air like that.
I have dreams where I fly. And
I've had dreams where I fly as well.
Yeah, love it. And I'm not mad on heights, but I don't feel it feels really, really light. It's a lovely light feeling. Number 2 would be read people's minds. Number 3, invisible. I think the trouble with the invisible one, it's horrible. No matter which way you put a spin on it, you're going to go into nonce territory. Sorry.
You're probably right.
With that, we're leaving.
To be fair, I never thought of that. I thought of going into shops.
Oh, I had. I was, and for me, whatever way I looked at it, you're going into nonce territory.
Yeah. Even if it first happens by accident.
Yeah, exactly. You're a nonce. You're invisible. You're essentially gonna go into nonce territory. Yeah. Nice one, Andy.
Nice one. It's been so great talking to you, John. And
I've really enjoyed it, mate. Well, I've said stuff to you I wouldn't say because you're a contemporary, right? So you were there, you saw that stuff. You're not coming at it with a weird angle or something. And I don't think we're being really. It's mature because we're not coming down. Oh, Sid was fucking horrible, or John's horrible, or it's a fair summation of everything.
That's great. Nice one. Really enjoyed it. So
nice one. You look after yourself, Andy. See you soon.
Have a good evening.
And you, mate. Bye bye.